A lot of people believe that we're already in the tribulation or that the tribulation is about to start. And I don't agree with that biblically, and I'll show you a few reasons why. The number one thing that I would be looking for is a radical peace solution in the Middle East with Israel. Daniel 9:27 talks about the Antichrist confirming a covenant with many, and in some translations they call it a peace treaty. But that's also confirmed in 1 Thessalonians 5:2-3, because it talks about people saying peace and safety before sudden destruction falls upon them. Ezekiel 38:8-11 also describe a certain time where Israel is going to be under the illusion of peace. They're going to be dwelling in security with unwalled villages, but then suddenly the nations are going to come against them for the final attack against Israel before Jesus returns. The second thing that I would really be looking for is the reinstatement of animal sacrifices according to Old Testament law in Israel. Because again, in Daniel 9:27, the Antichrist ends up stopping the sacrifices in the middle of Daniel's 70th week, and then he commits the abomination of desolation, where he sits in the temple and declares that he's God, and that begins the final 3.5 years where the Antichrist is essentially trying to rule the world with the mark of the beast. There's the false prophet who's doing signs, wonders, and miracles that are confirming the lies of the Antichrist, but I don't see any of that happening right now. Now, another thing that I would strongly expect to show up first before the tribulation starts, or really close to the beginning, would be a literal rebuilt third temple. I know people push back all the time, but Revelation 11:1-2 says, "Then I was given a measuring rod like a staff, and I was told, rise and measure the temple of God and the altar and those who worship there, but do not measure the court outside the temple. Leave that out, for it is given over to the nations, and they will trample the holy city for 42 months. That's the Great Tribulation period. That occurs again after the Antichrist commits the abomination of desolation, where he sits in the temple and declares that he's God. And we see Jesus reference the same event in Matthew 24:15, and he tells us to look back at the book of Daniel, which talks about the abomination of desolation multiple times. And we see this evil king, the Antichrist, stopping the sacrifice. We see his forces overtaking the temple grounds. And these same details just show up too often for me to think that there's not a literal temple. I just don't know how else people read those verses. I'm also looking out for the 10 Nation Confederacy that will come into power in the end times, and they will actually align themselves with the Antichrist and give him their power. And this is referenced in Revelation 17:12-13. It says, "And the 10 horns that you saw are 10 kings who have not yet received royal power, but they are to receive authority as kings for 1 hour together with the beast. These are of one mind, and they hand over their power and authority to the beast." So all that to say, we could have another 50 years before the tribulation starts. We could have 5 years before it starts. God could speed things up, and it could start in 1 year. We just really don't know, but I do think that there are super specific signs that have to be in place biblically before we can declare that Daniel's 70th week has started, or before we can declare that we're actually in the tribulation period. So let me know if you guys have any questions. God bless and have a great day.